A massive structural shift in geopolitical power was about to crush the fragile foundations of the early Roman Republic. For years, the newly liberated citizens of Rome had fought hard to cast off the cruel chains of their old monarchy. They had exiled their tyrannical king, Tarquin the Proud, swearing a sacred oath that no king would ever rule them again. But the deposed tyrant did not accept defeat. He fled north to secure a massive alliance with a terrifying superpower. He convinced Lars Porsena, the incredibly powerful king of the Etruscans, to launch a full-scale invasion to crush Rome. The Etruscan high command expected an absolute walkover, deploying thousands of heavily armed soldiers, cavalry, and elite scouts. They confidently predicted that the tiny, vastly outnumbered Roman defensive militia would completely collapse within a matter of days. But the invaders made a fatal, arrogant assumption. They mistook a young republic's vulnerability for a total lack of resolve. The massive Etruscan vanguard marched down with terrifying speed, catching the Roman defense forces completely off guard near the Tiber. They successfully captured the strategic hill of Janiculum just across the river, sending the outer Roman guard into a panicked retreat. Hundreds of terrified, defeated Roman soldiers broke formation, running blindly across the narrow wooden Pons Sublicius toward the city gates. The Pons Sublicius was the only bridge connecting the enemy's side of the river directly into the heart of unprotected Rome. If the charging Etruscan army managed to cross that narrow wooden structure alongside the retreating militia, Rome would fall instantly. The city walls would be breached, the citizens slaughtered, and the dream of the young republic permanently erased from history. As the sea of panicked soldiers trampled over each other to escape, the entire Roman command structure completely froze in terror. Enter Publius Horatius Cocles, a resolute, deeply disciplined Roman officer who was stationed to guard the vital river crossing. Horatius did not panic when he saw the massive cloud of dust raised by thousands of advancing elite enemy forces. Instead, his decades spent training in local defense tactics had quietly turned him into an absolute master of tactical positioning. When he saw his own comrades fleeing in terror, he did not join the retreat. He stood completely firm like a rock. If you want to decode the mind-bending strategies and historical anomalies that define elite human performance under pressure, hit that like button. Because Horatius knew that a standard, open-field engagement against an entire superpower meant certain, absolute death for his city. He screamed at his retreating countrymen to stop running and immediately used their axes to hack down the bridge behind him. He ordered them to destroy the wooden beams using fire, iron bars, or anything that could break the structural pathway. While they desperately worked to dismantle the heavy timber, Horatius calmly turned around to face the entire invading army alone. He marched directly out onto the narrowest part of the bridge, planting his heavy shield firmly into the wooden planks. He was flanked by only two brave aristocrats, Spurius Lartius and Titus Herminius, who stood beside him to absorb the initial shockwave. The narrow geography of the bridge meant that the massive Etruscan army could only advance 3 or 4 soldiers at a time. Their sweeping numerical superiority meant absolutely nothing in this tight bottleneck, completely neutralizing their vast military scale. When the first wave of elite Etruscan warriors charged forward, they were met by an unyielding wall of Roman iron. Horatius fought with a terrifying, calculated ferocity, parrying heavy bronze spears and driving his short gladius deep into enemy armor. Before the invading forces could even register the absolute madness of the situation, their front rank lay dead on the timber. The Etruscan troops would instantly pause, staring in utter disbelief at 3 men holding back an army of tens of thousands. They threw hundreds of heavy javelins directly at Horatius, but his massive wicker and leather shield absorbed the impacts completely. As the brutal, exhausting hand-to-hand combat dragged on, the wood beneath his feet began to splinter, groan, and violently crack. The Roman soldiers on the safe side of the river had successfully hacked through the main supporting beams of the bridge. Realizing the structure was about to experience a total collapse, Horatius ordered his 2 companions to run back to safety. They scrambled across the shifting planks just in time, leaving Horatius standing entirely alone on the edge of the abyss. The Etruscan army surged forward with a massive roar, believing they could finally overwhelm the solitary, blood-soaked Roman warrior. But Horatius didn't flinch. He kept swinging his blade, holding the line until the final supporting timbers gave way completely. With a catastrophic, deafening crash, the entire pons sublicious collapsed into the raging, rapid currents of the swollen Tiber River. The vital highway into Rome was completely severed, permanently trapping the invading superpower on the opposite side of the shore. His mission was fully accomplished, but Horatius was now stuck on the wrong side of the river, heavily wounded and exhausted. He looked up at the sky, prayed to the river god Father Tiber, and jumped directly into the deep, churning waters. He was weighed down by a massive suit of heavy bronze armor, bleeding from multiple wounds, and targeted by enemy archers. But true to his legendary reputation, Horatius defied all physical odds and successfully swam across the treacherous current to safety. His comrades dragged his battered body up onto the Roman bank, cheering wildly as the city realized it was saved. Rome had successfully defended its independent future against a superpower, thanks to the impossible, asymmetric resistance of one mind. Horatius lived a deeply respected life after the battle, receiving a public statue and as much land as he could plow. When the citizens looked back decades later at how their republic survived its darkest hour, the answer remained incredibly clear. It proves that a massive empire's wealth and military numbers mean absolutely nothing if they lack the agility to handle precision. As we study the changing tides of ancient history, let this brave stand remind us never to underestimate the individual. True resilience is built in silence, anchored to precision, and defended through an absolute, unshakable alignment with your reality. Keep your strategies adaptive, respect the hidden forces of history, and never stop building your understanding of the world.